I want you to do something that might actually feel a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
I want you to stop whatever you are doing right now.
Unless you're driving, of course.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah.
But turn off the mental autopilot for a second. If you're at home, just sit down. I want you to close your eyes. Seriously, close them.
We are going for total sensory deprivation to start this deep dive.
We kind of have to. Because the text we are diving into today.
J.R. Ahmed's book.
Yeah. The Quran and Existentialism. Freedom, Purpose, and Divine Reason. It doesn't start in a library or a classroom. It starts in a void.
An absolute void.
I want you to imagine you are standing in a desert. But wipe away the Hollywood version. This isn't Lawrence of Arabia.
Right. There are no sweeping golden dunes here.
No, this is a flat, gray expanse.
Think ash. Or concrete that has been pulverized into powder.
Exactly. The horizon is infinite. It stretches out in every direction, completely flat and completely featureless. And the sky is the part that really messes with your head.
Because it isn't blue.
It's not blue. It's not black. It is this stark, terrifying white.
It's a blank canvas.
A dead canvas, honestly. There's no sun to tell you it's day.
No moon for the night.
No stars to navigate by. Just a diffuse, blinding white light with absolutely no source.
And the silence.
Oh, the silence isn't peaceful. It is heavy. It's like a pressure on your eardrums. The only thing you hear is this low, hollow wind sweeping across the nothingness.
You are setting a very specific and, frankly, terrifying mood here.
Yeah.
You are describing what the author calls the empiricist's nightmare.
I am. And in this landscape, you are completely, utterly alone. There's no map in your pocket, no smartphone.
No voice booming from the clouds to tell you which way is north.
In fact, you don't even know if north is a real concept here. You are just there. You exist.
You exist.
And you have to decide right now, in this exact second, what to do next.
Do you walk?
Maybe. But which way?
Do you scream?
You could, but who is listening?
Do you just sit down in the ash and wait to die?
And here is the truly terrifying part. The part that makes your stomach drop. Whatever you choose, it is entirely 100% up to you.
Right.
If you walk left and fall into a pit that is on you, if you walk right and find water that is on you, there is no one to blame.
There's no one to thank either.
You are the captain of a sinking ship, and there is no ocean.
You know, usually we start these deep dives with a fun anecdote or some light trivia.
Yeah.
You have thrown us directly into the existential abyss.
Because that is exactly where the source material lives. We are exploring the most terrifying and exhilarating concept in human existence today.
Freedom.
We're talking about freedom. And I don't mean political freedom. I don't mean the freedom to vote or the freedom to buy 37 different flavors of toothpaste at the store.
We're talking about ontological freedom.
Yes.
The freedom of being. The stark realization that you are an entity that chooses. And those choices literally carve reality out of the void.
This is the stuff that wakes you up at 3 in the morning, sweating, wondering if anything you do actually matters.
It's the ultimate late-night crisis.
It really is. And our mission today is to trace a path from that terrifying desert of the absurd to something completely different. We are going to try to move from a universe of accidental chaos to a universe of architectural justice.
Moving from the empty sky to the cosmic observatory.
Exactly. And to guide us, we have this wild mashup of a text. It is basically a cage match.
A philosophical cage match.
Yeah, between 20th century French atheism, 19th century Danish theology, and the ancient structural arguments of the Quran.
It is a massive collision of worlds. You have Jean-Paul Sartre, the chain-smoking rationalist, in one corner.
Right.
You have Sartre and Kierkegaard, the melancholy theologian, in the other. And then you have the Quranic perspective acting as this, almost like a structural engineer.
That's a perfect way to put it, the structural engineer of the soul.
Yeah.
But before we get to the engineering, we have to stick with the empiricist in the desert. We have to deal with Jean-Paul Sartre.
The man who famously coined the phrase, existence precedes essence.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because existence precedes essence is one of those phrases people love to throw around at dinner parties to sound smart.
Guilty.
Right? We all do it. But it's actually a very specific mechanical claim.
It is. And to really understand it, you have to look at its exact opposite first. Think about a paper cutter. Or let's use the classic philosophical example. Think about a chair.
A chair, okay.
Before a carpenter builds a chair, what
And it decides to build a chair.
Right. He has a concept in his mind. He thinks, I need an object for sitting. It needs to be this tall. It needs a backrest.
It needs 4 legs.
Exactly. The essence of the chair its purpose, its definition, its blueprint that exists in the carpenter's mind before the physical chair ever exists.
So for the chair, essence precedes existence. The blueprint comes first.
Precisely. The chair is born into a purpose. It never has to have an existential crisis.
Never wakes up sweating.
Right. It never has to wonder, am I a table? Am I a ladder? No. It is a chair. That is its destiny.
And for most of human history, we just assumed we were like the chair.
We assumed there was a divine carpenter, God.
Right.
We assumed God had a concept of human in his mind, a divine blueprint, and then created us to fulfill that blueprint, meaning we were born with a purpose already installed on the hard drive.
But Sartre pulls the rug out entirely.
He really does. Sartre says, hold on. If there is no God, if there is no divine carpenter, then there is no blueprint.
So nobody thought of us before we got here.
No one. You just pop into existence.
You just materialize on the stage of history without a script.
Yes. You exist first. And then only after you're here do you have to invent who you are.
That's it. That is the existence precedes essence concept.
You are a biological accident that somehow became conscious. You are a blank slate.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
To a lot of people, that sounds kind of amazing.
It sounds liberating.
Yeah, it sounds like the ultimate freedom. I have no blueprint. I can be anything. I can be a poet or a banker or a pirate. Why is this framed as a nightmare in the source material?
Because Sartre didn't say, congratulations, you are free.
What did he say?
He said, man is condemned to be free.
Condemned. That is a heavy word. That is a prison word.
It is a prison word. Think about the weight of it. If there is no blueprint, there are no excuses.
What do you mean by that? No excuses.
Well, imagine you have a terrible temper. You yell at your kids, you kick the dog.
Okay.
If you believe in a blueprint, you can just say, well, God made me fiery. It's just my nature, it's my genetics.
I see. You offload the responsibility?
You offload it to the manufacturer.
I'm just a defective chair. Don't blame the carpenter.
Exactly. But if existence precedes essence, there is no manufacturer to blame.
Oh, wow.
You are angry because you chose to be angry. You are cowardly because you chose to run away.
So every single aspect of your identity is a result of your own choices.
Every single one.
Yeah.
You are carrying the entire weight of your personality, your failures, your whole life on your own shoulders.
Okay, that actually makes my chest hurt a little bit.
That is the anxiety the source talks about, the dread, the nausea.
Yeah.
It's that dizziness you get when you look down into a canyon and realize there's absolutely no guardrail keeping you from falling.
Yeah.
You are totally, terrifyingly responsible for yourself.
So let's go back to our desert. That is why the sky is empty. The empiricist is standing there dragging this massive, heavy trunk called responsibility.
And they look up at the sky for help.
We want a sign.
They want a manual. They want anyone to say, it's okay, turn left.
And the sky is just white, empty, silent. The empiricist sees no pattern.
They see no God. They only see the reflection of their own desperate need for meaning.
So what do? How do they survive that?
They have to invent the meaning. They have to literally say, I am walking left, and I am deciding that walking left is the right thing to do, even though the universe does not care at all.
That is bleak.
Very.
It's heroic in a weird way, but it is incredibly lonely.
It is the absolute definition of alienation.
Okay, so that is the empiricist. Stranded, panicking, inventing meaning out of thin air. Now enter the second character in our deep dive, the theologian, Sartre and Kierkegaard.
The father of existentialism.
Which is funny, right? Because he was a devout Christian and Sartre was a hardcore atheist, but the source says they actually start in the exact same place.
They do. Kierkegaard also starts in that desert. He looks at the world and he does not see a nice, orderly, sensible system. He sees the absurd.
The absurd. I love that term, but it's a bit slippery. What does Kierkegaard actually mean by the absurd?
He means that there's a fundamental mismatch between what humans need and what the world actually provides.
Okay.
Humans need meaning. We crave it like we crave food or water. But the world is chaos.
It doesn't give us meaning.
No, the world gives us innocent children dying of disease. It gives us wars started for no reason. It gives us the crushing silence of the desert.
So the absurd is that gap, the gap between my desperate desire for order and the world's total chaos.
Right. And Kierkegaard argues that reason, logic, science, math cannot bridge that gap.
Wait, why not? Science explains a lot of things.
Science explains how things happen. It explains how a virus replicates. It explains how gravity pulls an apple to the ground. But it cannot explain why I should care.
Right.
It cannot explain why I'm here. It cannot comfort me when I am staring down my own death.
So if I try to use logic to solve my existential crisis...
You hit a brick wall. In fact, Kierkegaard thought that trying to prove God exists using logic was actually insulting to God.
Insulting? How is that insulting?
Because if you prove God, you turn him into a math problem.
Oh.
You make him finite. You make him something you can just put in your pocket and completely understand. Kierkegaard says the divine is infinite, terrifying, and completely beyond human logic.
So if logic fails, if reason fails in the desert, what is left?
The leap.
The leap of faith.
Yes.
We hear this phrase all the time, but the source makes it sound way more dangerous than just trusting your gut.
Oh, it is absolutely not trusting your gut. It is intellectual suicide.
Intellectual suicide.
That's what his critics called it. The leap is looking at the evidence, seeing that the evidence says, there is no hope you are going to die. The universe is empty, and then believing anyway.
So it's believing despite the evidence?
It is believing in virtue of the absurd. It is a passionate, subjective commitment. Kierkegaard says truth isn't about what you can prove on a chalkboard.
It's not an equation.
No. Truth is about how deeply you are willing to commit your entire life to an idea.
Okay, Emma, I have to be the skeptic here for a minute.
Please do.
This sounds deeply dangerous.
It is incredibly dangerous.
Because if I can just leap without reason, if I can just abandon logic, can I leap into anything?
Yes.
Can I leap into a cult? Can I leap into believing that the moon is made of green cheese and I need to build a rocket to eat it?
This is the rationalist critique. There's a philosopher mentioned in the text, W.K. Clifford. He was absolutely savage about this.
What did he say?
He said it is always everywhere, and for everyone wrong to believe anything upon insufficient evidence.
I am with Clifford on this one. If you abandon reason entirely, you just open the door to madness.
And Kierkegaard knows that. He doesn't deny it at all. He knows the leap looks exactly like madness from the outside. And that brings us to the most terrifying story in the entire text.
The story of Abraham.
The archetype of faith.
Now we all know the Sunday school version of this story.
Right. God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son.
Abraham says, okay. He goes up to the mountain.
He raises the knife.
And God stops him at the last second. Yay, faith. Everyone goes home happy.
But Kierkegaard wrote an entire book, Fear and Trembling, about how completely messed up that situation actually is.
It is horrifying if you really pause and think about it.
Think about it from the empiricist's view, or the rationalist's view. If your neighbor came to you today and said, hey, God told me to kill my son, what do?
I call the police immediately. I call Child Protective Services. I call a psychiatrist.
Exactly. Because what he is proposing is murder. It is ethically, universally, objectively wrong.
So Abraham is a criminal.
In the eyes of universal ethics. Yes, he is a murderer in his heart. But Kierkegaard argues that Abraham performs what he calls a teleological suspension of the ethical.
Whoa. Okay, that is a massive mouthful. We need to break that down. Teleological suspension of the ethical.
Right. Teleological refers to a telos, a higher purpose or an end goal.
Okay.
Suspension of the ethical means he literally puts the universal moral rules on pause.
So he presses pause on thou shalt not kill.
Yes. He pauses the highest ethical law we have for the sake of a private, absolute relationship with the divine.
Private.
Yes. He bypasses the ethical laws that apply to everyone else to answer a call that is for him and him alone.
That is the very definition of fanaticism, isn't it?
That is the rationalist's absolute horror. To the rational mind, Abraham's a monster.
He has to be.
He is socially unintelligible, cannot explain himself to anyone, he can't go down to the town square and debate his decision logically.
Because there is no logic.
Right. He is completely isolated in his faith.
So we are left with this awful dilemma. On one side, we have Sartre in the desert. He's alone, he's inventing meaning, but he's just being crushed by the immense weight of
The anxiety of total freedom.
Right. And on the other side, we have Kierkegaard jumping off a cliff into the dark, hoping God catches him, but looking like a total maniac to everyone else.
It is a stark choice between despair and madness.
Is there a third option? Because frankly, I don't like either of those. I don't want to be crushed, and I don't want to be a fanatic.
There is. That is exactly where our source material pivots. And I want you to imagine the soundscape changing right here.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
Fade out that hollow rushing desert wind. Fade out the oppressive silence and slowly bring in a new sound.
What is it?
Click, click, click.
Like a metronome.
Like a clock. A massive cosmic clock. Imagine the low, steady hum of precision machinery. The turning of giant brass gears interlocking perfectly.
The text calls this the observatory.
Yes. We're leaving the chaotic desert and entering the observatory.
This is the rationalist persona stepping forward.
But carefully note, this is not the rationalist who rejects God.
Mm.
This is the rationalist who claims that reason is the actual path to God.
The Quranic perspective.
Exactly. The text shifts to the Quranic framework here. And the rationalist looks at the empiricist trembling in the desert and says, the sky is not empty. You just aren't reading the data correctly.
This is a huge vibe shift.
Yeah.
We are moving from the absurd to something the author calls architectural justice.
Architectural justice. Just the phrase implies structure, doesn't it? It implies design, mathematics.
So how does the Quran answer Sartre? Because Sartre says existence precedes essence. There is no blueprint. We are just blank slates.
The Quran argues the exact polar opposite. It references verse 54:49.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, we have created all things in due measure and proportion.
Measure.
The Arabic concept there involves qadar, which means measure, calculation, destiny.
Calculation.
The argument is that the universe is not a blank slate. It is a highly structured, highly calibrated environment. It is not a desert. It is a building.
It's an observatory.
It's an observatory.
So if there is due measure, that means there is a blueprint.
Yes. And if there is a blueprint, there is inherent meaning. We don't have to invent the meaning of a chair in a panic. The chair was built for a specific purpose. We just have to discover it.
So humans have a purpose embedded in us.
In this view, yes. We have a hikmah, a wisdom, and a haq, a truth embedded in our very existence.
But wait, pause right there. If there is a blueprint, if God designed me with due measure, are we just back to the problem of the chair?
What do you mean the problem of the chair?
I mean, if I have a blueprint, am I actually free? Or am I just a robot executing pre-written code? Sartre's whole point was that no blueprint equals freedom. If the Quran brings back the blueprint, do we lose the freedom?
That is the core tension of the entire book. And the source solves it with what I think is the most fascinating analogy in the text.
The operating system.
The analogy of the operating system, yes. The text introduces the concept of the Amanah, which translates to the trust. Comes from a famous verse where the Quran says God offered this trust to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains.
And what did the mountains say?
They refused it. They were terrified of it. They shied away.
Smart mountains.
Right. But humanity accepted it.
So what exactly is this trust that literally scared the mountains?
The text argues the trust is volitional consciousness.
Volitional consciousness?
It is the extremely high-stakes capacity to choose against your own programming.
Explain that. Choose against programming. How does that work?
Well, think about a cow. A cow has an operating system, right? It eats grass, it sleeps, it reproduces, it follows its biological instincts perfectly.
It's a very good cow.
It's a perfect cow. A cow cannot wake up one morning and decide to go on a hunger strike for political justice.
Right. A cow is 100% hardware. It is fully submitted to nature.
It has absolutely no gap between its programming and its actions. But humans,
we have a gap.
We have this strange alien software installed called free will. We can be biologically starving and choose not to eat.
That's fasting.
Exactly. We can be terrified, biologically hardwired to flee and choose to run toward the danger.
That's courage.
We can override the hardware.
So the Amanah, the trust, is that software. It is the OS that gives us admin privileges over our own biology.
That is brilliant, yes.
Yeah.
Admin privileges. And that is exactly why the mountains refused it. Because if you have an OS that allows you to override the system,
you can crash the system.
You can introduce catastrophic viruses. You can delete essential files. You can create what the text calls corruption upon the earth.
Because a mountain cannot be evil.
No. A tiger cannot be immoral, except doing tiger things. But a human can use that high-level OS to build incredible hospitals or to build gas chambers.
So this actually confirms Sartre's anxiety. The freedom is a massive burden. It is a highly dangerous weapon we are walking around carrying.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
But here is the critical difference. The boot sequence.
The boot sequence.
The source argues that the soul, the capacity for freedom, is the software. But it requires a specific user to run it properly.
And the user is?
The aqua.
The intellect.
The intellect. So reason. The Quran places a massive, relentless emphasis on aql. It constantly asks, do you not reflect? Do you not reason? Do you not observe the heavens?
It's demanding engagement?
The argument is that you simply cannot run the freedom software without the intellect user logged in.
And if you try to run it without the intellect,
you get glitches. You get the leap into madness that Kierkegaard described. You get fanaticism.
You get Abraham looking like a monster.
You get superstition. You get people doing crazy destructive things in the name of God because they've completely bypassed the reason safeguards of the system.
I see. So the rationalist is standing there looking at Kierkegaard and saying, you don't need to leap blindly, you need to look.
Precisely. The rationalist argues, I don't believe because I am intentionally ignoring the lack of evidence. I believe because I have actually processed the data.
The data of the universe.
Yes, I see the due measure. I see the stunning complexity of a single cell. I see the fine-tuning of gravity and thermodynamics. And my reason tells me this is not an accident.
So faith in this specific Quranic view isn't blind at all. It is reasoned conviction.
It is advanced pattern recognition. It is looking up at the sky from the observatory and seeing a complex navigation chart instead of a terrifying void.
So we have totally moved from inventing meaning with Sartre
to discovering meaning with the Quran.
Yes. We are discovering the parameters of the system we live in.
Exactly.
But I want to go back to the burden for a second, because even if I have the intellect, even if I see the patterns having this spate, trust this freedom is heavy. Does the text offer any actual comfort for the weight of it?
It offers something much better than comfort. It offers a spec sheet.
A spec sheet, like for a computer.
Yeah. There is a very famous verse, chapter 2, verse 286. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear.
I have heard that. People usually say it when you're having a really bad day. God won't give you more than you can handle.
But look at it through the lens of the OS analogy we've been building. It is an engineering specification. It is the creator saying the designer did not install software that your specific hardware cannot support.
Oh, I really like that. It's not just a nice platitude. It's a system requirement.
Exactly. It means the anxiety you feel, the ethical dilemmas, the agonizing struggle of making choices, they're all within your operating capacity. You have the RAM to handle this.
That reframes the struggle completely. It's not a punishment for existing. It's a stress test that you are literally designed to pass.
And passing it leads to the concept of alignment.
Alignment.
Think about it. For Sartre, authenticity was rebelling against the universe, shouting, I am not a chair.
Right, defiance.
But for the Quran, authenticity is aligning your internal OS with the external cosmic network.
It's connecting to the Wi-Fi.
In the sense, yes.
Yeah.
It's aligning your individual limited will with the divine will.
Okay.
The word Islam itself means submission, but it is linguistically related to salam, which means peace. And in this context, it is the peace of a system running at absolute optimal efficiency. When the software aligns with the network protocols, the friction just disappears.
But what if you don't align? What if you decide to go rogue? What if you use your admin privileges, your freedom, to create chaos?
Then you hit the firewall. You hit the consequences.
And this brings us to the synthesis, the gravity of freedom.
Yes. Sartre was very big on consequences. If I choose, I am responsible.
The Quran agrees with that, right?
It absolutely agrees. Verse 4, Qur'an 2:30 says, whatever calamity befalls you is a consequence of your own actions.
That sounds incredibly harsh. It's basically saying it's your fault.
It sounds harsh, but it is deeply empowering. It fully affirms the existentialist view that you are not a puppet.
Your choices actually matter.
If you put your hand in the fire, you get burned. The universe respects your freedom enough to let you get burned.
So the empiricist standing in the desert is actually right about one thing. We are free.
We are entirely free. But the rationalist in the observatory adds the crucial context. The universe is responsive.
The burn isn't just random cruelty.
No, it's feedback. It's data. It is the system telling you you have violated a core parameter of reality.
So suffering in this view acts almost like an error message.
Often, yes, it's a diagnostic tool. It tells us we need to debug the code. We need to realign with the due measure.
This is such a fascinating synthesis of ideas. You take the pure, terrifying freedom of Sartre,
and you place it securely inside the structured, responsive universe of the Quran.
and suddenly the desert isn't empty anymore.
Not at all. It is full of science. It is full of cues and data points.
So where does this leave us at the end of all this? We started with a full-blown panic attack in a white void.
And we ended up with a comprehensive user manual for a high-tech cosmic observatory.
We end up with a vision of the human being that is, as the Quran repeatedly says, not created in vain.
You are not a biological accident. You are a trustee.
My actual consciousness is a borrowed piece of equipment.
A very expensive, very dangerous piece of equipment.
So here is the call to action for you listening right now. You are standing in that observatory.
The telescope is your intellect.
The sky above you is full of signs. The question isn't whether you are free. Sartre was dead right about that. You are condemned to be free. You cannot opt out of choosing.
Even not choosing is a choice.
Exactly. So the real question is, how will you run the OS? Will you just stare at the floor?
Will you try to hack the system and deliberately crash it?
Or will you use the intellect to scan the heavens, to look for the patterns?
Will you find the reasoned conviction that turns the agonizing anxiety of the void into the profound peace of the observatory?
And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought, a thought that honestly kind of haunts me after reading this.
What's that?
If the soul is an Amanah, if it is a borrowed piece of high-tech equipment, a trust given to you by a creator for a strictly limited time,
Yes.
what happens when the lease is up?
That is the ultimate existential question.
What happens when the owner finally asks for the user logs?
Show me what you did with the system.
Did you run it into the ground? Did you fill it with malicious viruses? Did you use your admin privileges to hurt people?
Or did you use it to calculate something beautiful?
Did you use it to find me?
Are you ready to show your complete search history to the divine?
That is completely terrifying. But also it gives everything so much weight.
It gives every single choice gravity.
And gravity is what keeps us from floating away into the void. Keep looking up. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.